Today's video is brought to you by CarlinBrothers Candles. Anyway. Hey brother! The name of the wind has proven to be chock full of mysteries on top of mysteries on top of mysteries. Who are the Chandrian? Who are the Emir? Where are the Emir? Is it a coincidence that a Maru and a Demre sound so similar? What is the actual state of the world during the interludes, and why is Kvothe coat? I mean, I could just go on and on, but I do think it's safe to say that possibly the most mysterious character is Denna. Well, I say most, but then there's Ari and what is she doing down there? But today, Denna. Who is she? Where does she come from? What is her real name? Why is she always leaving? And what does she want from Kvothe? Is it a coincidence that Denna seems to be Kvothe's addiction and Denner resin is like the most addictive thing in the world? But of course, the main mystery surrounding Denna is who is her patron. I mean, even inside the story, the other characters find the fact that he is so secretive very sus. And on top of that, Denna herself isn't even a very accomplished musician, so whoever picked her seems like they picked her for a very specific reason. Could it be that Denna possesses a knack, a very real, rare, and unique type of ability in this world? In this case, I think it's Denna's ability to hear something once and then just remember it forever because she has really good ears, but I'll come back to that. Or maybe it's just that Denna is beautiful. I mean, men flock to her, and as far as we can tell, her profession before gaining her patron is just literally courtship. But perhaps the reason her patron chose her is for something more special, mystical, twisted, and rare. Perhaps he is playing a beautiful game. Hey, brother! Before we dive on in, we need to give a huge thank you to us, CarlinBrothers Candles, for totally sponsoring this video. Don't worry, we gave ourselves a great rate. But that's right, we have candles for you first-termers trying to get into the archives. That'll be one jot, 3 for that stacks fee. Kidding, of course. We unfortunately don't deal with jots here in the real world. And besides that, what chump would bring a candle into the archives? Oh, wait, it's Kvothe. But seriously, Kvothe, everyone knows you leave your lovely dual-wick, cozily scented candles back in your room at Anchors. They provide great light for loot practice or as a quality substitute while you assemble that first deck lamp. That's singledry there, am I right? For real though, guys, be sure to head over to CarlinBrothersCoffee.com to check out our fantastic selection of candles. Each one of these is hand poured and contains a hidden magical trinket inside that will reveal itself if you know the proper bindings, or if you just let it burn. And you're gonna wanna do just that because once they're burning, they smell amazing, and we have 3 great flavors. We have a broomstick handle, sherbet lemon, and phoenix fire, all available right now at CarlinBrothersCoffee.com. Plus, if you buy all 3 or just 3 candles at all, you can add the keychain to your cart and it'll get added for free, and you won't have to pay for it. Then you can keep all of your charms in one nice spot, and it's really awesome. Again, CarlinBrothersCoffee.com. Link is in the description down below. Who is Denna's patron? What is the true identity of Master Ash? Well, let's start with what we know to be concrete, which isn't hard because, well, we just don't know that much. We know for sure that Denna first meets her patron when she and Kvothe were supposed to meet for lunch at the Aeolian, except the fishery catches on fire and Kvothe becomes preoccupied saving Fella. And personally, I'm not sure yet whether or not I think it's a coincidence that on the very day that Kvothe, oh my God, that light is not on. Now it's on. Now, personally, I'm not sure whether or not I'm convinced it's just a coincidence that on the same day Kvothe and Denna are supposed to meet for lunch, the very careful people at the fishery have an accident with the material they were just warned is very dangerous. But that's what happens, and then Denna goes missing for an entire span. But for reference, here's the passage about being careful around the bone tar, which is what starts the fire. This container is designed to keep the agent cold and under pressure. Be mindful while it remains in the workshop. Avoid excessive heat in its immediate vicinity. That's it. What else needs to be said? Kelvin doesn't let anyone work here unless they're careful, and now everyone knows what to be careful of. All right, so careful people are told to be careful around the thing that promptly causes the problem. That's the thing? Sure. Suspicious circumstances or not, we'll press on. The point is the fire happens, Denna meets her patron, and then she's gone for a span. And during that span, another suspicious event happens at the Mothin farm involving the total wipeout of an entire wedding. Everyone's dead except for a single sole survivor. Denna. Now, Kvothe hears about the incident and learns there's some blue fire, which might mean the Chandrian were there, so he has to get there as soon as possible. But on his way, we learn something very important about Kvothe, and that is that Kvothe has a knack, which might seem like a random detour we're taking, but I promise this is important. Now, a knack, in case you need a refresher, and I wouldn't blame you if you did, because it's only mentioned once when Kvothe and Abinthy are talking when Kvothe's a kid. But Abinthy is discussing his giller and says, to its owner, it's just warm. That's how you can tell the difference between an arcanist and someone who has a knack for finding water or guessing the weather. Trip has something like that. He rolls 7s. Yeah, that's a little different. Not anything so unexplainable as a knack. I suspect Trip has a pair of clever dice or an equally clever skill, which probably extends to cards as well. I thank you for your timely warning, but a knack is something else entirely. Trip can't cheat to save his life, and anyone in the troop can tell good dice from bad. Trip throws 7s. It doesn't matter whose dice he uses, he rolls 7s. If he bets on someone, they roll 7s. If he so much as bumps a table with loose dice on it, 7. This conversation is the only time knacks are mentioned by anyone in the rest of both books. This makes the entire concept extremely forgettable, but I assure you, we are running into characters with knacks, including Kvothe. Speaking of whom, let's get back to his journey towards the Malthan wedding to investigate the blue fire and the massacre. He knows he needs to get there fast, ASAP, today, this afternoon. Right now. Trouble is, it's very far away, and Kvothe is gonna need a very good and expensive horse. So in an act of desperation, he heads to Davy and takes out a 20 talent loan. Money in hand, he heads to the nearest stable and is very clear with the salesman that he is not there to dicker. He needs to travel 70 miles today, give me your best horse. And finally, after a bit of not dickering, the salesman brings out a full-blood Kershayan, who he assures Kvothe is the horse. And quietly, Kvothe agrees, and he knows he can rush the sale, but not his relationship with the horse. So he begins walking around it, talking to it. But he's not really talking to the horse, he's just trying to get the horse comfortable with the sound of his voice. And so what he's trying to come up with is a good name for the horse. And since the horse is all black, he's coming up with black themed names. He disregards names like Coal or Shadow and finally lands on the shieldish word for twilight, Tukethsalon. And upon saying the name Tukethsalon out loud, the horse responds immediately and kindly to Kvothe, who, thick-headed as ever, simply attributes this action to the apples in his bag. He declares the name and returns to negotiations, which suddenly seem to be going way better than they were before. Rather than the 20 talents he was expecting to pay, he's now being allowed to pay just 15? And Kvothe can't believe it. Like, why the sudden price drop? But he's also not one, if you'll pardon the expression, to look a gift horse in the mouth. He's on his way. After riding about 99% of the way to the wedding and crossing a few rivers, he runs into a tinker, and looking to make his money back so that he can repay Davy, he offers to sell the horse to him for 20 talents. It's a full black Kershayan, he tells the tinker. You gotta pay extra for the full blackness. But lo and behold, the horse is not fully black. In fact, its back left hoof is white, and the paint that was used to fool Kvothe has washed off in the rivers. The tinker notices this and laughs and says, didn't the name tip you off? It means one sock. So here's what happened during that first exchange. Maybe this was super clear to you on your first reading, but to me it took the second pass. Kvothe's shieldish is bad, and he accidentally names the horse One Sock. By mistake. The salesman who painted over the white sock in order to raise the price of the horse thinks that Kvothe is onto his trick and drops the price in a hurry so he doesn't lose the sale. But then later, Kvothe realizes the horse actually does have one sock, meaning he gave it the exact perfect name, he just didn't realize it. And that does not just happen. Like, it's way too big of a coincidence. It happens because Kvothe's knack is naming. And Tukethsalon the horse is not the only time Kvothe manages to find the perfect name for someone. The other great example is Ari. Kvothe gives her that name and it intrigues Elodin. Why Ari? Because she doesn't have anyone else, I said, and neither do I. If we don't look out for each other, who will? No, why did you pick that name for her? Because she's so bright and sweet. She doesn't have any reason to be, but she is. Ari means sunny. In what language? Ciaro, I think. Sunny is Leviret in Ciaro. Leviret? I don't know how to say it. Well, Kvothe might not know what Ari means, but I can tell you that here in the real world, Ari means gold. Now, we don't know yet why that's going to be extremely relevant at some point in the story, but I guarantee you it's going to be, because we also know that Ari is an alchemist, thanks to the slow regard of silent things, and alchemists have a long history with gold, but I won't go into that right now. Anyway, the point is, the reason that Elodin is so intrigued by this is because he, Master Namer, doesn't know what the correct name is, but Kvothe managed to find it. The reason I'm going to all this trouble to establish Kvothe's knack is because it is critically important to identifying Denna's patron, Master Ash. And at this point, I'm going to assume that I have sufficiently convinced you that he does have a knack for it and move on. Good job, self. When Kvothe finally arrives at the inn near the remains of the Mothan wedding, he runs into Denna, and together they team up to go investigate everything that happened. And whilst they're out sleuthing, they begin to talk about Denna's patron, who she says she absolutely cannot reveal the identity of, but Kvothe suggests that they come up with a name they can simply refer to him as. And to be fair, Kvothe starts out being a little ridiculous. He suggests Annabelle, the Duke of Rich Money, and then rattles off a bunch of different names starting with the letter F. Frederick the Flippant, Frank, Firin, Foru, Fordale. Now that list of names is pretty significant, and I'll come back to it in a minute, but after he begins rattling those off, he chokes on a leaf, the wind blows into his mouth, and it turns out to be an ash leaf, and that's how they land on Master Ash. Or was it an elm leaf? They are easily confused. No, it's Ash, for sure. Actually, I've always thought the rest of the scene was kind of weird, because almost immediately after that happened, Denna thinks she has chaff blown in her eyes from the farm. Notice how the wind delivers both things? Subtle. But it's not chaff, it's actually ash, but not an ash leaf like Kvothe just choked on, an ash like from a fire because there's a burning building ahead from the remains of the Mothan wedding. So to be clear, this time it's ash, like from a fire, a cinder, if you will. Yeah, okay, so we're finally there. Yes, we believe Master Ash is Cinder. I mean, first of all, ash and cinder, basically the same word. And just like before with Ari or Tuketsalan the horse, Kvothe has correctly, exactly named something or someone, but doesn't realize it. And what's even crazier is that he almost actually does it twice in the same scene. They land on Master Ash because of the ash leaf, but remember that list of F names that just sounds like Kvothe is being ridiculous? Well, he's not. He's actually so close to being dead on. And you might be thinking, and correctly I might add, that Jay, Cinder doesn't start with the letter F. And you're right, well done, I'm so proud of you. Great class today, everyone. But Cinder has another name. Let's go back to the very first time we meet him, right after Kvothe's parents are killed, and Haliax is talking to Cinder. You are a tool in my hand, the Shadow Man interrupted gently. Nothing more. A hint of defiance touched Cinder's expression. He paused. The soft voice went as hard as a rod of Ramston steel. Farula! Cinder's quicksilver grace disappeared. He staggered, his body suddenly rigid with pain. You are a tool in my hand, the cool voice repeated. Say it. Cinder's jaw clenched angrily for a moment. Then he convulsed and cried out, sounding more like a wounded animal than a man. I am a tool in your hand, he grasped. Lord Haliax, I am a tool in your hand, Lord Haliax. Cinder amended as he crumpled, trembling to his knees. Who knows the inner turnings of your name, Cinder? Farula. That is Cinder's true name. Well, almost. It actually gets a little better. Fast forward a lot to chapter 128 of The Wise Man's Fear, when Cheyenne, the leader of the Adem school Kvothe is training at, is telling Kvothe what she knows about the Chandrian. This is the story you may recall that can only be told once every 1,000 days and after you've traveled 1,000 miles. Siphus bears the blue flame, Sturkis is in thrall of iron, Farula chill and dark of eye. It goes on, but I'm gonna stop there because that third one, Farula, is the important one. That one is Cinder. Cinder has all black eyes with no sclera, and he's the one standing in snow in the pottery. That accounts for the cold, plus, you know, Farula. But let's go back to those F names one more time, because here is where it gets crazy. Farron, Foru, and Fordale. If you take the beginning, middle, and end of the first, second, and third words respectively, you end up with Farula. Boom. all of the pieces are right there. And just to clear things up, you might be wondering, wait, why does it end in an E this time instead of an A like when Haliax said it? Why the change in spelling? Or who knows, maybe you're totally on board at this point and think it's splitting hairs to discuss the difference in spelling, but we want to be thorough here on this channel, so how can you be sure? Because remember, Kvothe is telling us the story the way he wants to, and he didn't say the name just right the first time because of what we see happen next. What happens is Bass totally freaks out. Rashi! No, stop! You shouldn't say such things. But what he means is you shouldn't say such names. Chronicler is actually worried too and asks, does that mean they might come here? You've certainly been talking about them enough. Kvothe made a dismissive gesture. No, names are the key. Real names. Deep names. Kvothe didn't say the real name the first time in the conversation with Haliax, but he does say the real name here when he's talking with Cheyenne. This is all part of the 1,000 days, 1,000 miles thing. Like, Kvothe knows that he's eventually gonna say the real name when he gets to the part of the story with Cheyenne, so he messes it up the first time because he's obviously not gonna travel 1,000 miles and let 1,000 days pass before he continues the story. Because again, in case you've forgotten, and it's easy to because the books are very long, but in the present, only 2 days have passed. But there you go, guys. Master Ash is Cinder. It's right there in the name. It has been staring us in the face the whole time. And honestly, I believe this story goes even deeper, but we will get to that in another video. For now, let me pass the question on to you. What do you think? Is Master Ash Cinder? Let me know your thoughts in the towel section down below. Guys, thanks so much as always for watching today's video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and hit that like button. It seriously does help. If you want to see more Name of the Wind videos from us, you can check out this playlist right here. But Ben, until next time, I will see you in another life, brother.